Whether it's cars, comics, video games, or violins, there's a little geek in all of us. It's time to give your geek a voice. It's time for Geek Therapy. Here's your host, Johnny Hamburger.
Oh my goodness. It's that time again. That time of week, your favorite time of the week, my favorite time of the week, of course. It is Geek Therapy Radio. So lean back, unless you're driving. Don't lean back too much. Don't be one of those dudes who you see passing on the highway where the driver's head is in the back seat. Basically, they've got their cars leaned back so much that they're just like this. They're so far leaned back. They're so far leaned back that it looks like they're driving from the back seat. You know who I'm talking about. So, Geek Therapy Radio, lean back on the imaginary couch, or if you're at home listening to the podcast, lean back in your chair, lean back on the couch, and just let's be therapeutic with our geek natures. Let's geek out about some things. I'm Johnny Hamburger. Again, it's my show, so of course it's me. I hope I get to the point where I can have somebody fill in on this show. You know, I can be off jet setting somewhere and be like, yo, I've got a guest host this week filling in for me. I hope I get to that point. That'd be pretty amazing. So, for those of you who have not been watching this radio show, I say watching because I am starting to video record these shows. So back a minute ago when I was talking about those dudes who lean so far back when they drive, it looks like they're driving from the back seat. You can see me miming that on the video. Why am I recording the video? It's because I've had multiple people tell me I should at least be recording video of these shows. And I agree, because last week I was geeking out hard about the GPD Pocket, which on the video I'll show you. I've got it right here. The GPD Pocket is a mini laptop, and it is amazing. And go back and listen to last week's show. There I am again. Go back and listen to last week's show, and you'll hear all about the GPD Pocket. And I'm yelling because the camera fell over. Oh well, this is live. This is recorded live. It's recorded live in front of a studio audience of me, and now you get to listen to it on the radio. So, what I wanted to geek out about in this first segment this week was cars. I know we've touched on cars in the past. It's going to sound funny me saying this now, but I don't consider myself a car guy. If I am a car guy, the DeLorean made me a car guy, Back to the Future. But it was only for that car. And I guess I am a car guy with certain vehicles, not every car. Like I discussed, I think in my fourth show, I wasn't one of those kids who grew up with, posters of Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff on the wall. I didn't care too much about cars. Cars were just the thing that your mom took you to school in. That's the thing you piled in to go to church. There's nothing inspiring about getting in my mom's minivan. My dad was always the one who had the quote unquote cool cars, and really they weren't cool at all. They were all Volkswagens, which I love Volkswagen, but he had cabrios, Volkswagen cabriolets, which were the ragtop convertible Volkswagens, which are kind of iconic now. They're kind of collectible now. They don't make cabrios anymore. Volkswagen doesn't make the cabrio. They make the EOS, and which is a hardtop convertible, which never grabbed me. I really didn't. Just boring. It was just boring to me. Like I said, I love Volkswagen, but there's a few models of Volkswagens where I just don't care. So But, you know, my dad having the Cabrio versus my mom having the Chrysler minivan, would I rather show up to school, be dropped off at school in a maroon minivan or a convertible? So back in the day when I was little, it was the coolest thing in the world. We felt like rock stars when my dad would drop us off once in a while, would drop us off in the convertible. It was a Volkswagen convertible. It wasn't like a Porsche convertible or anything like that. It was just a Volkswagen convertible. So even if you aren't such a car guy, like, I appreciate muscle cars. I appreciate the GTO, mainly because John DeLorean invented the GTO. That was his baby. John DeLorean invented the muscle car when he invented the GTO. I know the Mustang came out a little bit before that, but it wasn't a muscle car. The pony car wasn't a muscle car when it came out. John DeLorean put a big, freaking huge V8 in a small coupe. That's what made the muscle car, and he called it the GTO. So I appreciate old classic cars. I appreciate, you know, old Italian cars. I appreciate old Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff, but like I said, I never had pictures of the Countach. I have no desire in my heart to own any Lamborghini. No desire in my heart to own any Ferrari, with one caveat. There's two caveats. There's one Lamborghini I would like, and there's one Ferrari I wouldn't mind. But like new ones, like I have the Lamborghini Huracans or the Gallardos or any of these new, Ferrari 458 Italias. I appreciate that they're cool, and they look neat, and it would be fun to drive. But there's no passion. Seeing those vehicles doesn't invoke any passion like seeing a DeLorean does for me. Seeing an old Volkswagen convertible invokes more, of a more emotional response than a new Ferrari. And that's kind of weird because there's a lot of people listening probably like, oh, I would love to have a new, like I said, 458 Italia Ferrari. Of course, everyone would love to have one. You want to give me one and you want to pay for all the maintenance and all the upkeep and all the insurance? Sure, give me one. I'll find a place for it. But even if I was a millionaire, would I go out and buy one? Would I go out and buy a Lamborghini Huracan? No. Part of me would be embarrassed to be seen in it. Like if I got a car like that, I would tint the windows as legally black as I possibly could because it would be. It seems like it's too flashy, too kind of gaudy, I guess, to drive around in a Lamborghini like as a daily driver. It seems a little bit embarrassing to me. And I may be alone in that sentiment. So a lot of guys and girls would love to be seen stepping out of a flashy red Ferrari. And I understand that. That's perfectly natural. But to me, I would kind of like, I look around, before I got out of the car, making sure no one sees me. I don't know what that is. Why don't I want that attention? Even though I get that attention in the DeLorean. Maybe that's it. Maybe having the DeLorean, I've been disenchanted by the attention. But there's a difference between the attention you get in a DeLorean versus the attention you get in a Ferrari. In the DeLorean, you are invoking the nerd spirit in people. People recognize that car, let's not kid ourselves, mostly because of Back to the Future. So when people see a DeLorean, they don't care that it's me in the DeLorean. They care about the freaking DeLorean. They're geeking out about the DeLorean. And I take joy and I take pride in being able to brighten someone's day or week or month or year like that. Yeah, come take a look at it. A lot of car owners, a lot of classic car owners, don't touch my car. Don't you put your fingers on my car. Of course you can't sit in my Porsche. No way I'm letting you sit in my Ferrari. Now, when I pull up in the DeLorean, I let people sit in it. I let people touch it. I let them sit in there and press buttons and whatnot. They just be respectable. Don't be mashing on stuff. But I'll let people in there to enjoy the car because I enjoy the car. And a car is something that should be enjoyed. Matter of fact, if I did have a supercar, I would still let people Let people play with it, not drive it. Maybe my very close best friends, and not even all of my brothers, not even all of my family members. Only a select, few people on this earth will get to drive the DeLorean. Only a select few people on earth would ever get to drive whatever supercar I'd ever have, or muscle. I don't know whatever. But there, we all know these people that we love dearly. But it's like, I am not letting you drive. Anyways, yeah. So all that being said, and I guess I'll cover this more in the. We'll talk more about cars in the second segment. We'll get to our bucket list cars. There is only one supercar, exotic car that I would actually like, that I do actually aspire to be able to comfortably purchase one day. And that is an Audi R8. That's the first car since the DeLorean that just kind of struck me. And that's 100% coming from being raised around Volkswagens. Because if you don't know, Audi is Volkswagen. Just like Lexus is Toyota, Infiniti is why am I blanking out? Nissan. Acura is Honda. Those are just in the American markets. There is no Infiniti or Lexus or Acura in Japan or anywhere else in the world. It's only American markets. Anyways, yeah, the R8 is the first car since the DeLorean that has captured my attention, and that's 100% based on being raised with Volkswagens. And two, I think it looks good, of course. But here's the thing: when I say I aspire to buy one, I don't aspire to buy a $200,000 R8. I don't aspire to buy a brand new one. I aspire to buy an old one. A 2008, 2009, 2010. I think they look better. And it's also pretty sweet that they cost a fraction of what a new one costs. You can get a used R8 right now, like a 2009 R8 this is still a lot of money, for around $70,000. We'll get you a good one. $70,000. You buy a new mid-range Mercedes people carrier, 4-door sedan for $70,000. You can get Lexuses for $70,000, boring Lexuses for $70,000. So the fact that you can get an R8, you can get a supercar for $70,000, it's pretty amazing. Amazing to me. So that's. I would like to one day buy a used, 10-year-old R8. The new ones They aren't cool to me. I mean, they're cool, but you get what I'm saying. I can see a brand new R8 and appreciate what it is, but I don't want it. I do not want it. I do not want any new exotic car. The most exotic car in the world that I want is a 2009 or 10 Audi R8. And those are almost 10 years old by now. So what does that say about me? I guess I appreciate classic cars. Or collectible vehicles. Anyways, this is a long segment. What are we at now? 13 minutes and a half. So we'll get into our bucket list cars. Think about that during the break. What are your bucket list cars? Like of all the cars in the world that you could have or want to drive, think about that in the next 3 or 4 minutes. We'll come back to it on the next segment of Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hemberger. We're just gonna have some fun this week. I don't have any set game plan for the rest of the show. I'm gonna hit a couple, things in tech news, but we're just gonna wing it here. Let's talk about cars. Let's think about what were your childhood cars, your favorite cars in your childhood. Maybe you did have Lamborghini Countach hanging on the wall. Anyways, I'm running over time. We'll be back in a few minutes. Think about cars that you liked growing up. Think about cars that you saw as kids that you might one day want to have. Your bucket list cars. We'll be right back with Bucket List Cars. I'm Johnny Hemberger. We'll be back with more Geek Therapy Radio. All right, we're back to segment 2 of this week's Geek Therapy Radio, and I said we were going to continue talking about our favorite cars, our bucket list cars from when we were kids, or more recently, maybe you saw a car today that instantly went on your bucket list? So in the vein of bucket list cars, I'm gonna tell everybody now what a vehicle that I purchased just a couple days ago. It's been a bucket list car of mine for not my whole life, because I've never really been into Japanese cars. But it's been a bucket list car probably for the last 10 years or so. And this is the vehicle I bought a couple days ago. I bought a 2000 Toyota Mr2 Spyder. I got it cheap. Motorcycle money. Used motorcycle money. I got it really cheap. I'm not going to say what price it is, but it's just... I mean, it's not a... car money isn't any sort of money to raise your nose at, but as far as cars go, cheap. Pretty cheap. Anyways, I've always had a soft spot for Mr2s because of the DeLorean. I've always liked cars that have the engine behind the driver. And in the DeLorean is technically a rear engine vehicle. And what that means is, in the DeLorean, the engine sits behind the rear wheels, kind of like a Porsche. The DeLorean has a big fat booty because the engine is behind the rear axle. So that makes it a rear engine vehicle. Toyota Mr2s, first generation, second generation, and third generation. I have the third generation, which is the Mr2 Spyder. But all Toyota Mr2s are mid-engined vehicles, which means the engine, that's what all the exotic cars are, like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and all that. Those cars, for the most part, one of the things that makes them supercars is they are mid-engined, which means the handling is superb. So, Toyota Mr2 Spyder is a mid-engined roadster. Just means convertible. Roadster just means convertible. So it's mid-engine and it's a freaking go-kart. It's not the fastest car ever. And that's one reason I love it so much. And that's one reason I like it so much is it's not going to snap your neck. 0 to 60 is like 7 seconds. 5-speed manual. So it's peppy. But that's what I love about it. The engine is a 1.8 liter 4-cylinder. It'll get over 30 miles to the gallon. It's very economical. And since it's a Toyota, it's extremely reliable. The one I bought has 154,000 miles on it. Runs like a top. That wasn't a very good snap. That's better. Runs like a top. And if you keep taking care of it, it's just going to 300,000 miles. It'll probably go to 300,000 miles before it needs its first engine rebuild. Before I got to rebuild the top of the engine. Like I'm going to rebuild it myself. I don't know how to do that. I don't have the tools to do that. Anyways, so that's what I love about it. A small little peppy motor. Very reliable. Very fuel efficient. It's perfect. The DeLorean, if you can see the video, I'm crossing my fingers. The DeLorean has been reasonably reliable. I used to deliver pizza in it for a couple years, actually, which is crazy. That's one of my crazy life stories is I used to deliver pizza in the DeLorean. Delivering pizza is torture. Torture on a car. So if I was able to deliver pizza in a DeLorean, the whole DeLorean reliability myth is just that. It's a myth. If you take care of a car, it's going to last you forever. So I take that back. For most of its life, my DeLorean has not sit and rotted in storage. It did sit in storage for 4 or 5 years, and when I took it out, before I even turned it over, I had them redo the fuel system. You can't have gasoline sitting in your engine, sitting in all the hoses, sitting in the engine block, sitting in the fuel pump. You can't have gasoline sitting in your engine for that long. It will gel. It will clog. I don't care if it's a Honda or a Toyota. You cannot leave a car sitting that long without having to clean out the fuel system and or replace the fuel pump and all the lines. So that's what I did when we pulled the DeLorean out of storage is I had them go over the fuel system and replace fuel lines, replace the fuel pump. Cost about $1,500 to do all that, which depending where you're leaning, what experience you have with vehicles, $1,500 for a complete fuel system rebuild isn't that bad. I've got a feeling that, I won't say what my daily driver is, but I've got a feeling that redoing the fuel system in my daily driver would be thousands of dollars. Thousands of dollars. Easy. The DeLorean was $1,500, and which is fair. It's been running. That was 10 years ago. What noises am I making? Several years ago that I rebuilt the fuel line, but I drive that thing now. I drive it regularly. I start the engine. I'm going to be in a 4th of July parade with it. The DeLorean has been very reliable. So that's one reason that I liked the MR2 is that it's a Toyota. It's a mid-engine sports car Toyota, which means you can have all the fun in the universe with it, and it's always going to run. The maintenance costs are going to be extremely low. And really, one of the reasons I got this car is because it's a collectible. It's becoming a collectible, and they are starting to appreciate. I got mine a few days ago. The price has bottomed out on my particular year model, but other year models are starting to creep up. So this is my second attempt in kind of flipping a car. Not that the DeLorean is for sale or might ever be for sale, but the DeLorean is worth 10 grand more than we have into it. We bought it for a certain price, and over the course of 17 years, since we bought it in July of 2000, over the course of 17 years, we have probably 5 or 6 grand into it, and now it's worth 10 grand over what we have into it. So I'm kind of trying to capture the same magic with the MR2. I'm going to enjoy it for a few years, and I'm going to replace things on it that need replacing to make it a prime example of the vehicle, because that's what's going to keep it worth the most. You know, when people start modding vehicles, start putting turbos on it and start putting wing kits and all sorts of, I'm not going to say dumb stuff, it's just not something I'm into. But you're never getting your money back from that, ever. Ever. You can never modify a vehicle over beyond stock, usually, and make it more valuable. Other than, some improvements, like the DeLorean, there's some parts in the DeLorean that it does make it more valuable to replace. This little fittings and whatnot. New buyers want to see that, oh, you've had this thing replaced. So like I was saying, any modifications you do to a car, any third aftermarket modifications, you're decreasing the value of the car, and you're never getting your money back for that. You can put 20 grand in mods into a car. Let's say I put $10,000 worth of aftermarket mods into the Spyder, into the Toyota Mr2 Spyder. Never getting that back. That's $10,000 flushed right down the toilet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to replacing some parts, giving it some TLC. The good, I can't even talk. The good thing about the Toyota Mr2 Spyder, like lots of Toyotas, is parts are cheap. If I want to replace both the front seats, that's less than $500. If I replace one seat in my daily driver, probably $1,500 per seat, probably more than that. So in a Toyota, brand new seats, less than $500, like Toyota seats, like factory, because Toyota still makes parts for the car. They don't make the car anymore, but they still make parts for the car. I'm keeping it bone stock. I'm making it just a beautiful bone stock MR2, and I'm going to enjoy it for a few years, see how and if it appreciates. If it doesn't appreciate, the prices have already bottomed out, so I'm not losing any money on it. Yeah, see how it appreciates after a few years, and then maybe flip it. Maybe go towards my next bucket list car. I'd say the next car on my bucket list is the DeLorean's sister, the Lotus Esprit. I would like a Lotus Esprit. I think Lotuses are neat. It's a bucket list car, and if I could afford it one day, a Lotus Esprit. The DeLorean is based on the Lotus Esprit, so the Lotus Esprit has been a bucket list car of mine. What's another bucket list car? We got the MR2. So I currently own the MR2 and the DeLorean. Lotus Esprit, that's a bucket list car. If I'm loaded like Jay Leno, Ferrari 308. Here's the thing about cars that capture your fancy. The Ferrari 308 is not a very fast car. It's Magnum PI's car. I didn't care about Magnum PI, but the Ferrari 308 is not fast. I just think it looks neat. It's an 80s car. I've got a heart for 80s cars. I'm an 80s baby. Don't care about the Testarossa. Like I said, don't care about the Lamborghini Countach at all. But Ferrari 308, I wouldn't mind having that in the stable. If I was loaded, like I'm not going out and looking to buy a 308 if it's ever going to be a financial strain. No, I don't like it that much. But if I had millions of dollars, Jay Leno type of money, and I could just buy all the cars I want, yeah, I put a 308 in there. The other bucket list car that if I could financially afford it is a Lamborghini. It's a Lamborghini Diablo. And that's just because there's a video game I used to play called Need for Speed. It's the first Need for Speed. The Need for Speed franchise is still going on, but the very first Need for Speed had a Lamborghini Diablo in it. So I wouldn't mind a Lamborghini Diablo. That's another bucket list car. Oh, what else? What else? You know what? This segment's going over anyways, so I think I'm going to leave it there with bucket list cars. I'd like to know what your bucket list cars are. You can go to my Facebook page, Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, and leave a post. Tell me what your bucket list car is. Make a list what your bucket list vehicles are. You can also send me an email, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com, geektherapy@iheartmedia.com. But I prefer the Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook. Visit the Instagram, Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram. I post I post some neat pictures there, geek out pictures. But that's the end of this segment. We'll be right back with more Geek Therapy Radio. I am Johnny Hemberger. Don't forget, I'm recording this on video, and I'm popping this ish on YouTube. It's Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. Also, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. So you can see all my spastic. Did I just see a ghost? I thought I saw a ghost in the window. That's not this type of show. That's over on KTRH right now. But please keep listening to me until my show's over before you go over to KTRH and listen to Coast to Coast, where they talk about ghosts and UFOs and stuff. I'm blabbering on too long. Geek Therapy Radio, I'm Johnny Hemberger. We will be right back. Guess what, geeks? Was it my first show or second show? I said, I am going to start working out, I guess. I was going to be a fleek geek. What was it? What is it? Geek ripped? Is that what I said? I was going to be geek ripped? So yeah, I joined. You can geek out about fitness. I'm not so much of a fitness geek though, obviously. But I've been working out the past couple weeks. You see the video, flexing the guns. Welcome to the gun show. Spaghetti guns. But anyways, I don't know, whatever. I played varsity baseball. I can throw the rock. Anyways, yeah, I've been trying to geek out about it because I know that the only way that I'm going to make it work for me is to be a geek about it, is to get excited about it and get fascinated with it and research it and just do the things that we geeks do to get inspired to do the geeky things we do. So I think about it in a way that I think about working on a computer. I love working on computers. I love building computers. I love components and sticks of RAM and hard drives and video cards and CPUs and cases and motherboards, MOBOs, SATA cables, NVMe M.2 drives, which to call it a drive is a misnomer. But anyways, back to working out. So I'm to a certain extent, I've been geeking out about workout, what routines to do, form, not just because if you have bad form, you hurt yourself. That's all it boils down to. Is if you're not moving the weights around correctly, you can hurt yourself. And I would say, now that I'm thinking about it, I joined a gym to work out 95% because I'm tired of my lower back being chronically sore. I have good days and bad days, mostly good days. If I get tired, my lower back really starts screaming. So I was tired of that. And I know one of the only ways to cure what ails me in my lower back is to make the lower back muscles stronger. Because what's causing my pain is fatigue. The muscles get fatigued. We sit in chairs for 8 hours a day. I try not to sit actually here for 8 hours. I'll move around. But yeah, chronic lower back pain is epidemic. And I'd say it's only going to get worse as we adopt more sedentary lifestyles. So while my heart in my body and my spirit feels like it's 18, and I know that my heart is actually still fully capable. I went to the doctor and had all my tests done. I am fighting fit. So I was just tired of the lower back being a problem. You know, I look at my skateboard. I want to skate. I'm a geek about skateboarding. But I couldn't do it for extended periods because my lower back would hurt. You take a beating on a skateboard. I'm not just talking about when you actually wipe out and slam into the pavement. I've done that a few times recently. Feels good to get slammed a little bit. But what doesn't feel good is your body and your bones and your muscles reminding you, sup, brah, you ain't 18 anymore. You are 33, staring down the barrel of 34, and only 6 years shy of 40. You cannot be bashing your body around like this too much without taking more proactive steps to taking care of it. So that's why I joined a gym, 95% for my lower freaking back. And if you're watching the video, I'm pointing to my lower back. I talk with my hands a lot, apparently. I've been told. And that's probably one reason I've hesitated to take videos of it, is because of my show, is that you're going to see I talk with my hands a lot. So, yeah, and the other 5% is I've never been jacked in my life. So let's see what happens. I'm a hard gainer, which to me, I already put it in my mind as hard gainer is just an excuse. Really what that means for me is I don't eat enough. So for me, pushing around the weights is the easy part, quote unquote, relatively. The hard part is eating enough. Really, that's the hardest part, is training yourself not just to eat good food, not just to eat, garbage all day long. It's just to eat, period. Just to eat enough food. So for me, that's the toughest part of all this, is just eating. Eating anytime I think about eating, and eating the right stuff. Not eating stuff that's so unbelievably high in fat. But making sure everything I eat has a lot of protein, has enough carbs to fuel my body to turn that protein into muscle. I don't need to lose weight. That's one gift this geek has, is I don't have to lose weight. That's never been an issue on either side of my family. We've been skinny. So the hard thing is eating, getting all those proteins, getting all the grams of protein. So for me, I fluctuate around 170. I weighed myself on a scale this morning. I was 168, butt naked. 168. So for me, to work out and build muscle, what I need for me, and these are some things that I geek out about. I need 170 grams thereabouts of protein. That's 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. It's always better to have a little bit of a surplus, just a little bit of a surplus. So 170, 175 grams of protein and around 3,000 calories. And again, with calories, it's better if you're trying to build muscle to have just a little bit of excess calories, because you don't want to have too little protein or too little calories. The calories are fuel. And again, listen to me. I'm geeking out about this stuff. The calories are fuel to burn when you're pushing weights, doing exercises. So you can't be calorie deficient. You could work out 7 days a week, which you should never do anyways. You could work out 7 days a week, 2 hours a day, and not see any growth, not see any gains, brodette. You can work out. You can. I'm a part of my French again. You can literally work your ass off, like for real. Like your butt will go away from working out too much if you don't supply that butt meat with proteins. Your butt will grow if you don't work out enough and you have too many calories. Calories will go to your fanny. So that's the road I'm on right now. I've been working out, and I joined a gym. It's kind of expensive. Lots of people have told me, "Oh, you joined this gym? That's expensive." Like, yeah, I guess it is. Maybe joining the Y would have been cheaper. It's costing me $80 or $90 a month for this gym, but I use it as motivation. For I'm paying top dollar for access to this facility. So like I would hate myself if I saw that $90 bill every month. It was like, I'm not using that money efficiently. So lots of time my motivation to get in there and push the weights around is I'm paying for this. I'm paying a lot of money for this. So I tell myself, Johnny, do it, you idiot. Go do the work. You're paying for it. Oh, I was about to make a little slur. I mean, I get to, because a quarter of my ancestry is this stereotype. But oh geez, here's all I'll say. I want to get my money's worth. I'll leave it to you heathens and mongrels to be racists and make stereotypes about whatever you think penny pinchers are historically. But I get to because my blood, my DNA is that ancestry. I'm allowed to make fun of myself a little bit for being motivated to work out because I'm paying for it. If it was free, meh, I don't need to work out today. No, I'm paying for it. I get my money's worth. We'll be right back with the final segment of Geek Therapy Radio. I'm going to go over some actual news, actual tech news, actual tidbits of what's going on in the world today. Nintendo just released a new console. Not the Switch. It's something else, something cool. But anyway, I'll get into it in the next segment. Johnny Hemberger, Geek Therapy Radio. Go to Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook. Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube, so you can see this video that I'm making of me recording my show. That might be interesting to you. I'm just doing my thing here. There's not any like explosions or, big-breasted bikini models behind me. There's no clickbait like that. It's just my beautiful bald face. My face isn't bald. I shaved it. You'll see in the video. Johnny Hemberger, Geek Therapy Radio, Facebook, Geek Therapy Radio, Instagram, Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. And we'll be right back. Take these 4 minutes to do some push-ups. More Geek Therapy Radio right back after this. Okie dokie, welcome back to Geek Therapy Radio. I have chewed up so much time in the first 3 segments, and it's crazy because each week I think, what am I going to talk about? What am I going to fill, 45 minutes worth of show about? And it's so easy. It's become so easy. My problem now is keeping it concise and getting out all the information within those 45 minutes. I'm itching my leg. You can see that on the video. Itching my leg. No, I have not been skipping leg day. Anyways, that's more for my back, doing those leg exercises. That works your lower back a lot. Anyways, time for, and this is a new segment I think I'm going to introduce here, This Week in Geek. Da-na-na-na, intro, music, blah, 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 sponsored by Give Me Money, Please. This Week in Geek, the Aston Martin Db9, becomes the first Aston Martin with a Mercedes AMG heart. That means the engine in the new Aston Martin DB9 is going to be a Mercedes engine. Aston Martin has historically made their own engines, and Aston Martins have been historically garbage reliability. So, having a Mercedes engine will be at least 1% more reliable. Shots fired. I don't know. German cars nowadays are pretty darn reliable. My daily driver hasn't had really any issues besides wear and tear items, which are expensive. That's the problem, is they're expensive. German cars are always going to be expensive to fix and service. Even just wear and tear items. Just get a warranty. That's all I'm saying. So the new DB9 will have, it's no longer an Aston Martin engine. It's going to have a Mercedes engine. And props, good. My Toyota Mr2 Spyder has the 1.8 liter Toyota engine in it. It's a Toyota, obviously. The Spyder is also, Lotus has used the platform for the Lotus Elise. So the Lotus Elise has the same, it's slightly the same Toyota engine in it. It's tuned a bit differently. It's tuned up to about 200 horsepower. But Lotus borrowed the frame from Toyota, and Toyota borrowed the frame from Lotus. They share the same platform, and they share the same engine. Difference is the Lotus Elise, for the same year as my car, the Lotus Elise costs at least $30,000 because it's a Lotus, but it's a reliable Lotus because it has a Toyota engine. So now this Aston Martin might be a reliable Aston Martin because it has a Mercedes engine. They've outsourced the engines. Kudos to them. More power to you for that. Other tidbits in This Week in Geek is Oscar Mayer. You know the Oscar Mayer Wiener mobile? Well, they've got drones now. It's called the Wiener drone. I just think that is amazing. The Wiener drone is going to apparently be able to drop hot dogs on people or deliver hot dogs. It's just, I'm more fascinated with the Wiener drone part of it. Being able to say, look at that Wiener drone. What can you say? What more news about the Oscar Mayer Wiener drone is there other than it's called Wiener drone? And I am a child, so that is funny. NASA's Supersonic X plane passes a key milestone. It kind of looks like the Concorde, but better. This could be a boon or a supersonic boom for supersonic passenger travel again, but we'll see. They've got it's just a milestone. They're still on the way. And it's a long time before we're going to see supersonic passenger travel again, I think. Maybe within the next 10 years. The problem is you can only fly supersonically over the ocean. You can't fly supersonic over populated areas because of sonic booms. And they are loud and they are destructive. So there's not very many flight routes you can take that are economically viable to fly supersonic. So that's that. One last bit in This Week in Geek, of course, is Nintendo releasing the Super NES Classic Edition, which is a mini version of the old Super Nintendo that has several games built into it, a few dozen built-in games. 21 built-in games like Donkey Kong Country and Super Mario World and Zelda. Star Fox, it's going to have Star Fox 2 on it. Star Fox 2, hold on a second. Is it actually going to have Star Fox 2? I'm seeing it here. Star Fox 2 was never released. They were working on it, but then they stopped. So, let's see. Yeah, the biggest surprise is Star Fox 2, which was canceled in 1995 because they were working on the Nintendo 64, obviously. So Star Fox 2 for the first time is going to be on a Nintendo, on an officially licensed Nintendo console. I've played Star Fox 2 in an emulator, but that's a gray area. So yeah, that's awesome. The Super Nintendo Classic Edition. Hopefully they make enough of them to go around. They did this last year with the classic NES, and they only built a limited number of them. And now you find people all over the internet trying to scalp them for like 2 or 3 times as much as they were supposed to be in the stores. So hope they make more Super NES Classic Editions than they made NES Classic Editions. And with that, that's all the Geek Therapy Radio for this week. I'm Johnny Hemberger. Visit Geek Therapy Radio on Facebook, now Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube, and Geek Therapy Radio on Instagram. So if you want to see video, of this first inaugural video show, go to Geek Therapy Radio on YouTube. I'll see you guys later. I love you, geeks. You're capable of great things. You are so much. Just love yourself, please. I know we all have our own issues, but you're not your issues. You are your goodness. We have these issues that muddle it up, but you are your goodness. That's what it makes you good. We're all weak about certain things. So just love yourself. Know that you're good. And I'll see ya, and you'll hear me at least next week. More Geek Therapy Radio next week. I'm Johnny Hemberger. Have a great week, everybody. Peace.